All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of United We Will Grow podcast. I'm so excited to be here as we continue to reflect, refocus, and revitalize our organization through the art of podcasting. Who knows what that's going to look like in the next 5 or 10 years, but this is the tools that we have right now. And we're so excited to be able to document some of our stories of our founders, our charters, those who are on the board right now, and sisters who are part of the organization and have been a part of the organization so that we can look forward to the future. Again, I'm one of your hosts, Kay Shore, and I come from the Omicron chapter. And I'm just so excited to be here with my sister, Candace, as she is from the Epsilon chapter. And she crossed, when did you cross again, Candace? Not to throw you on the bus or nothing like that.
Oh gosh. No, no, it's all good. You know what? I age like fine wine. I'll say
Yes,
that. No, I'm
yes,
just
we
kidding.
do.
I crossed, we all do. Crossed fall of 2005, Mu class. My ship name was And Still I Rise. Candace Phoenix Sanchez. Yes, ma'am.
If that's not serendipitous to the organization and ASU, then I don't know what is. So,
Right, right.
yeah. So, who are we going to be
Yeah.
talking to today? That's what I'm really excited
Oh,
for.
I am excited to introduce our guest, and she is, da, 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 drum roll please, our founder, Clara Lopez Arvayo. I want to introduce
Wait.
everybody.
I got a drum. I do got a drum roll. Watch this.
You have a drum roll. We're going to hear it. I don't hear
You don't hear it? I hear it on my
it.
side. That's fine.
No. Hey, drum roll. We'll just pretend we hear a drum roll. So I just want to introduce. So thank you again for being on our show, and I'm just so excited to introduce you officially with a little bit of your bio. So, Claudia's life began in Arizona back on July 5th, 1991. She graduated from Gilbert High School, where she met her future husband in 1992. She always knew she would attend Arizona State University. She comes from a long line of diehard Devils, and even as a California girl, she knew she would be a Sun Devil someday. She was proudly accepted to ASU and attended briefly from 1992 to 1994. In that short time she attended ASU, she was lucky enough to meet 7 like-minded women who were also first-gen college students and who felt unseen on the large campus of ASU. ASU, for those that don't know, but I'm sure you know, and if you don't know, you're going to know, Arizona State University. Shout out, shout out. She was married in July 1993, and they welcomed their first child into the world in January 1994. And although she didn't finish her degree, she does hope to return and earn a degree in public administration. She is a mom of 3 amazing adult children. She's a wife, an executive assistant for a public school district in Tempe, Arizona, aka the Motherland, and a national founder of one of the fiercest sisterhoods ever founded. And for that, she is beyond grateful. And I am also beyond grateful that we have this amazing sisterhood that I can be a part of. So thank you, Clara, for being on the show today.
Thank you.
She's like, look, just ask your questions so I can get on out of here back to go get some dinner. Well, then give us the good stuff, Clara, because we know that you mentioned a little excerpt about how you were awestruck with how close you became with the sister. So tell us a little bit of your Gamma story. Why did you become a sister? How, how has it been in your life? But also just, those first days of being 18 on campus, a story that's still not new of being a lot of first gen and a lot of folks from, our neighborhoods who are still there, still experiencing that. But again, y'all recognize there was a need at that point. And so I'm still, it's always so cool to hear the different perspectives of the 7 ladies coming together. Just I'm imagining y'all being 18 and like what conversations were taking place and how did you feel as a pillar of that foundation?
Well, for sure, I did not feel like a pillar. I was just one of a few young ladies that accepted the invitation from Amy or Michelle or whoever brought us into the circle. And for me, it was through another friend of ours, a mutual friend, that was friends with Amy's husband, Soilo, or not her husband at the time, but it was her boyfriend at the time. Um, and they introduced me to Amy and to Michelle, and they said, yeah, if you're interested, come to this room at this time, and we're going to have our first meeting. And okay. because I didn't have a whole lot going on. I'm a freshman at ASU, so I went and did that, and that's where it all started. But yeah, I mean, I didn't feel like I was doing a whole lot at the time. I just finally felt like, okay, I know somebody. I know a group of somebodies on this very large campus. I had just moved from California my senior year of high school. So then I had a senior year of high school, totally different state, totally different people. My friends, all different friends, and they were all going in different directions. I went to ASU because that's what I was supposed to do. From the time I was a kid, my older siblings, you're going to be a Sun Devil. You're going to be a Sun Devil. So, okay. And I lived in California, so I didn't know how that was going to work out, but it did. So there I am, ASU, and I had this opportunity to be a part of something. So I said yes, and just it went from there. But I mean, I don't know what other details you want, but yeah, I mean, it's.
Well, I want to. No, I'm just kidding. I want to know the blood that was shed. I want to know who was given up for sacrifice. I'm just totally kidding with you. Okay, so I know a big part. I've had the privilege to get to know you a little bit more than other folks, but I want to know how Gamma has played a part in your life, because a part of your narrative and the story that you share with us is not finishing your degree and things like that. But I think you and the sisters set such a great example of what it means to support sisters through the seasons. So tell us, like, what happened. Like, were you on your second year, your third year? Like, why did you leave? And then, like, what has the relationship been like, and what has been, maybe the hard parts about it, obviously, of leaving something you just started, but also, like, now, 30 years later, you've seen the fruits of all of your labor.
Yeah, so I was there. I think I was going into my sophomore year at ASU, and my husband and I got pregnant. So I was pregnant, walking around, trying to get to class with morning sickness and all that good stuff. And then we finally realized that, May of 93, no, 94. What if I'd have been hold on. It was the end of 1993, so it was probably going into spring of 94 that it was kind of like, okay, you're about to burst, you're about to have a baby, it's time to be a mommy. So that's when that all had to stop. So, and that was fine. I, went off. I was the wife, the mommy, all the good stuff. And literally like 10 years later, I left ASU, I left to be a wife, I left to be a mom, and it never even crossed my mind what I had left behind. I'll be honest, school was in my past, and my marriage and my family was my present, and conceivably my future. So 10 years later, I'm at work, and I'm like, I wonder if Gamma Alpha Omega made it. Like, did they keep going? So I Googled them, and sure enough, there it was. They were still there. And I thought, oh my gosh, like, it happened. Like, that's so cool, right? So then I reached out to Active House, and my sister Ginny, she emailed me back, and she's like, oh, we would love for you to come to a meeting. Yes, come on Monday nights at, in this place, whatever. I'm like, okay. So I go back to the campus at ASU, Tempe campus. I go to the meeting, and there's probably 25, 30 girls in this itty bitty conference room that probably shouldn't have had more than 10 people in it. And they were just like, they bombarded me. They're like, oh my gosh, Clara Lopez. And I had no idea who any of them were. I didn't know any of them. I'm kind of looking like, okay, which one's Ginny? And she's like, oh, here I am. I'm like, hey, thank you so much for inviting me. They're like, thank you for being here. They just, that was my first experience with the girls outside of my initial circle. And then
Your
I
first
reached
experience?
out. What?
Was it your first experience of celebrity?
Royalty.
Yeah,
That's what we talked about
totally.
with Michelle and yeah, Amy. We said the royalty at like you, that's what I feel like when you guys grace us when you're with your presence. It's like royalty because when you like 10 years, look at that. You just went on with your life. You did your thing. You know, you took your
Hmm.
role, your place in life as a mom, as a wife, and that happens. And I want sisters to know that that happens in life. That you might have to take a pause off college. That doesn't make you less than. That doesn't make you not a sister and look at 10 years later, you're like, wait a minute, let me see. And then
Hmm.
you're recognized like at that high level. I mean, that is, I just think that's such a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing. That's like so, like,
Sure.
that's humbling, I love it.
Oh, tell me about it. It was, I just remember them conducting business and I was just in awe. I'm like, wow, this is like so professional. Like, I was not expecting there to be an order, or for them to have this actual agenda and all, like, because when we met at first, it was just kind of like, okay, this is what we want to do. This is what we want it to look like. And it was just more of like, three people sitting in a room having a conversation. But what I experienced was a legit, professional, business conducted meeting. And I was just like, I love this. I'm so proud right now. Like it was like, yes, I was beaming. But yeah.
And that's what I
I'll
think
tell you.
in a lot of
Go
meetings,
ahead.
I think when I remember I became a sister, I was just so proud of the structure. I came, I
Hmm.
was actually already in the workforce. I was a later sister pledged later in life. 33 years old,
Hmm.
adult learner, having a family, full-time career, got kids in middle school, and I'm pledging, I want to be a sister of Gamma because I really loved what it stood for. And yeah, I just felt like that sense of belonging, like you mentioned when you first got to, that you were California, you go to ASU, that sense of belonging. I felt it, and having that structure was so important. I feel Gamma, and I hear a lot of my Midwest, I say Midwest sisters. They always talk about, I know, right? They always talk about how Gamma had instilled a lot of that professionalism, and
Hmm.
they learned about business. And that they said has really gone with them throughout their whole life, which kind of segues into like the career path where we want to,
Right.
talk a little bit about that. But Kishore, didn't mean to interrupt. I know you had some comments or she giving
I
me
was
the
gonna say, keep it going. I was like, keep it going. But I was gonna say, someone who is 33, who just turned 33, and who got the chance to go all the way through up until this point, to this day, even now, I was just talking about earlier with y'all before we jumped on, like my hands are in a lot of things, but I'm keeping it all together because of Gamma. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like it is literally the one thing that sets me apart from other coaches, other leaders, other things like that. Like I'm working with a couple guys right now. I'm like, how y'all running your lives like this? It's like I just told Candace, like I got 7 Google profiles with no notifications. I am up to date. I was like, we're running agendas, we're running meetings, we're holding all these groups together. I was like, and it was all because of Gamma. And I so much badly want that for other people. And I'm just like, look, you can't come into this sisterhood, but we could probably create something else, and you could come in and get a little entryway or something. But continue with the career part. But I'm saying it's been the game changer, and it just every single day, if not multiple times a day, I'm just like, if it weren't for Gam, I wouldn't be able to do what I do.
Yeah, yeah. So really just Clara, I think we want to kind of talk a little bit about, like so we in your bio you mentioned, where are you now? What are you doing? Sounds like, you're considering or you or thought about like going back to college, but
Mhm.
my whole thing is once you're in the workforce, right? Is what's your professional advice? What would you tell, your younger self or any sister listening to the podcast to really, what would be your advice in that professional aspect and just things that you've learned throughout your journey of life and your career path?
Um,
Or even just from motherhood, right?
mhm.
Being a mom is a job. I mean, that takes a lot of work. That's like the toughest job in America.
That's for
Just
sure.
saying.
It was not easy, that's for sure. And I did that for the majority of my adult life. Um, but yeah, I think as far as career wise goes, and even as a parent, you just have to keep going and know that that's what you want to do. And if it's not what you want to do, then chalk it up to a stepping stone to get to the next place, wherever it is that you're going to learn something in that space that you can take with you to the next stepping stone until you find what it is that brings you joy, that brings you to a place where you feel complete every day, or at least ready to get up every day and do it again. You just, you have to find whatever it is whatever it is that you're doing at the moment, figure it out. Is this what you like? Okay, if you don't, then what do you need to do to get to the next place? And that's kind of what I've always done. I haven't stayed in the same, you know, career forever, but I do know that I like to serve. I like to give back to others. I like to help keep other people organized, and I'm good at that. I learned that as a mommy. You have two kids that are less than 2 years apart, and they're very involved in things. You have to keep that together. Because otherwise one is late and then that makes them feel bad, or one doesn't get to do something because, well, the other one's busy. Well, no, they should be equally able to do the things that they enjoy and do it on time, and still know that mom still has to work, dad still has to work, but we will make that time for you, but you have to organize that. So I think as a parent, organizing my kids helped me to learn that I'm really good at organizing people and their spaces and being there for them. So as long as I continue to come from that place that I'm there to help that person, then I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, and I think that that's really important as a mom. That's the best thing you can give your children, the gift of being organized, the gift of structure, the gift of stability, the gift of a safe space,
Hmm.
right? And how do your kids feel about this organization that you helped to found, right? Like you found this organization, you're a founder, like people, you're royalty to all these women and sisters everywhere. Like how do they feel about it? And I'm assuming there's got to be some legacies in your from your family, your tree. So I want to hear a
Right.
little bit about that too.
Yeah, my oldest did cross, and so she was the first founding legacy. So that was pretty cool because, again, it wasn't until 10 years later that I looked up Gamma to see if it even continued on after I left. And she was probably, I think, in sixth or seventh grade at the time. So she didn't really have any interest when I talked to her about it. She's just like, okay, whatever. That's some group of girls that you hung out with in college. Okay. And it wasn't until she actually went to an event at Val's house, and she got to meet some of the girls and kind of what we did and kind of who they were, that's when she decided, yeah, I think I might take a look at that. And she did go to ASU. She pursued that on her own. I hope she never feels like I pressured her, because I tried really hard to not make her feel like it was an expectation that she do that, because I didn't want her or my other daughter to ever feel like this is something you have to do. It's there, it's for you, but you don't have to do it. I have a goddaughter, and she's actually my great niece. She's my niece's daughter. She also crossed up at NAU. So she's also a sister. So yeah, it's in the family. My son got to play soccer with some of the girls at a barbecue on a Sunday before when he was younger. So it's, I mean, they know it's there. They know that that's part of me. They indulge me. It's just one of those things that I'm definitely not that cool founder to them. They're just like whatever. But they know it's part of me. My husband loves it. He calls himself an honorary founding father. I'm like, you're not a founding anything. You're not anything by default because you're married to me. But he tries to claim that title. But yes,
He's so
Yeah.
he
proud.
is.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, he is.
Hmm. I'm curious of there's kind of two ways I kind of want to go, but I'm curious of how you've sustained, especially because you said you were away for 10 years, right? Away.
Hmm.
I don't know where you're away to. Doing your thing, being a mom.
Doing
That's
my
what you're
thing.
doing.
Yep.
And living your life, doing your thing. And then you came back. But like, I'm curious of those conversations about of actual sisterhood, right? Like, I think that maybe, well, at least what I've observed, that maybe there was some shame or some guilt in the beginning, of like, wow, like I left, I came back, and it's this, and now it's, I'm not sure, and I don't want to speak for you, but that's just getting to know you over the years of what I've observed. But it seems like even now you tell your story like, this is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of times, a lot of sisters carry that guilt, carry that shame if they don't finish, whether like getting in and not finishing school, maybe some like not being with the sisters after a certain period of time, just going inactive. Like, can you just tell us more of how your sisters, our founding mothers, have set an example of what it means to actually be a sisterhood, again, going through the seasons of life? And I don't know if you can use even specific examples, if a particular sister really showed up for you in these moments, in these ways, and yeah, and so on and so forth. Just to give us some sort of guiding light as sisters. We're kind of in a cancel culture right now. We're in a ghosting culture right now, and I just want to look towards a group of women who have lasted the 30 years, and what kind of work and empathy and grace does that consist of, to really have that a part of our lives, to have our partners saying that they're founding fathers or whatever the case, and have to have their you know daughters and grandnieces to be a part of it too. Like, what does that look like, and how has that been for you all?
I think for us, as far as the founders and founding charters, was we've just accepted each other for who we are. Like, we always know, we joke about gamma time. We joke about, well, we can't get all the founders in one room at the same time. It's impossible, or it's so hard. We get like 4 out of 6 or whatever, right? And that is kind of what it's like, but we have to just accept the fact that we're not always going to be there all the time. But I know for a fact I can reach out to any of them with anything and say, I'm having this issue, or I need help with this. And they'll respond, and they'll at least be there for me. And that's all I can ask for. And we truly do accept each other with our faults, our strengths, and all the in-betweens. And I think that's what, because we're all very different. I mean, you've heard Amy say it, you've heard, Val and Patsy say it, we're all very different, but we're always there for each other, no matter what. And I think that's what's really great about our organization, is that we figure out a way to still be there for each other. Even if we haven't talked in 10 years, haven't talked in 2 weeks, you can reach out to a sister. You could literally like get into the Facebook group and say, hey, I'm going to be in Texas on this day. Is there a sister that can hook up for lunch? And someone is going to respond to you. And that's amazing, because it may not even be a sister but you're friends with them on Facebook, or maybe you've seen them at a convention once. And now all of a sudden you're having lunch with them because you're passing through their hometown. Like, that's amazing. And you don't have to know them. You don't have to know their innermost secrets or anything like that, but you know that they're a sister. And I think that's what's great between the founders. Like, we're always there for each other so that we can be there for everyone else, in our own capacity, because we're all different and we all respond differently to each of our sisters who reach out to us. So, and I do enjoy the fact that some of the sisters, they know who to reach out to depending on what it is they're looking for. I will say that. So, because just know our Facebook DMs get little messages here and there from sisters, and we talk. So we're like, hey, did so and so reach out to you? Yeah, actually she did. Or no, I didn't hear anything. So, it's just, they know. I mean, they've, like Kay Short said, she's had a lot of time, she's spent a lot of time with us, so she kind of knows our different personalities. And I think our sisters learn our different personalities too, and so then they know who they can connect with, or who they need to connect to for that particular issue. And I'm grateful to be that person if that's who my sister needs.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the fact, well, the pandemic, if it taught us anything, we don't always have to be in
Right.
person. We can meet virtually, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
like, the power of connection is just that much more massive in the way that we can connect with each other, right? You just do a messenger, you send each other a video. Mark, there's so many technologies that allow us to stay connected
Mm-hmm.
so that we're not isolated, so that we don't feel alone, right?
Right.
I want to just go back. Something you said that really just hit me at home at my heart was when you said, that with your legacies, that, and I thought it was a good point. You didn't want anyone to ever feel pressured.
Mm-mm.
And I think that's what I always appreciate about Gamma or the organization when we hosted informationals or we had our Gamma weeks on campus, at any campus that I know that our sororities are at, right? That our chapters are at any of the campuses, that we always tell those ones interests, right? Do your homework, do your
Mm-hmm.
research, make sure we're a good fit. We want you to feel that you have the sense of belonging, that it's going to be good for you as well as it's going to be good for us, because we care more about the quality than the quantity.
Yep.
But wow, amazing for you to go in a room and see 25. I wish in Wisconsin for Epsilon we had that. I mean, we might have at one point in time, but again, I think, when we talk about sisters leaving or not feeling a sense of belonging because maybe they didn't finish school or graduate. I just think you're such a great example of that, Clara, that no matter what, you still belong. We're still a sisterhood.
Mm-hmm.
You can still reach out. You can still connect. That doesn't define the sisterhood. It's
Right.
it's it's bigger than that. And that's what I wanted to make sure I called out, because that's what I heard, and I really wanted to touch on that point for the listeners.
Yep.
Yeah, and I feel like when it comes to that retention part, I think that's something that's probably on all of our hearts to some extent. And I think it's just maybe a change of generation. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It could be so many different factors, but I think something that needs to be talked about is like if we want folks to stay retained, if we want sisters to be retained, they're exactly what Candace is saying. There's that level of quality that needs to be asked for. Like I think sometimes when we see other spaces and places, you see a lot of reaching, like reaching, we need more members, whatever the case. But yeah, you can get someone and say, I need more members, but then that's just going to be like a McDonald's drive by. You know what I mean? Like we want a dine in experience, like we want to have a quality experience. And so I love when Candace is like y'all do your research. We're not going to be like we don't need the numbers. What I mean? We've always been good about being small but mighty, and like but it's about that
Mm-hmm.
quality and that retention. So I think for sisters who are in a space of expansion, in a space of retention, in a space of active house or whatever the case may be, the first step is this going to be of quality, and is this person going to last with us through the seasons? Because if we're just doing it for numbers, then it's just gonna be like cotton candy. Like, did I even eat anything? I don't even know. It's not
Mm-hmm.
filling. It's not filling it. So I think that's something to just note as we continue to move forward of what that looks like in their character. Again, that if a sister leaves for a semester, like how do we invite them back? And again, it's that no pressure of like, we need you, we need all these actives, we need to do all these things. Like, no, like if you really look at the core of the organization, it's being a support system through whether it's college or the next phases of our life. And I think something we were talking about off the mic was talking about how we just had mental health month, and so if there's anything that has been a part of our conversation on a global scale is our mental health because of the pandemic. What does that look like to actually reach out to sisters and knowing at the very least we have that, and so I'm curious with the both of you again, such great examples of what it means to come at different stages of your life being a part of this organization. But two things that you all do great that I admire is your sisterhood quality. So what can you all shed light on infusing of your mental health and infusing it with sisterhood too and your experiences?
Well, I think for retention purposes, and touching on that, you said exactly what we've always said from the beginning. It's the quality of the young lady that has decided that we're the right fit for them, and then we present them with a process that helps them decide whether or not it really is the right fit for them. And then once they've gone through that process, now they're part of an existing environment, and now they need to be melded into that. And we've said it before, you know, we can look at a sister and say, oh, she's so much like Amy. Oh, she's so much like Clara. She's so much like Annette. And these young ladies have no idea who we're talking about, but we do, because we know our personalities, and we look at them and go, oh yeah, that's clearly we have a type, you know, if you will, for a sister. You know, they just they they find us, and I think that that's great. But you know, with COVID and mental health being an issue, and that separation, that inability to be in the same room with another person, um, was difficult. And I think for young people who are in college, if it was their first year, or even if it was their last year, it was difficult, it was challenging. And then who do you go to? And who do you talk to? And is it okay to ask a sister for help, or to say to your, you know, to throw it up on the Facebook group, I'm struggling, and then to receive crickets and not have another sister reach out and say, I'm here. I'll listen to whatever it is you need to talk about, or if you need something more, I know somebody. We have sisters who can help you. But we have to be willing to at least listen to them and know that they're struggling, or because some people hide it really well. You know, they always come with a smile, and you'll never know that they're struggling with anything. But there's that one person in their world or in that circle that they're going to be vulnerable enough with to say, yes, I'm having trouble. And I would hope that as a sister, you at least say, you know what, I can't help you, but I know someone who can. Or let's figure this out together to figure out who can help you. Because that's enough to push a sister away, I think. That's enough for a sister to say, you know, when I really needed you, you weren't there. Or when I really needed help, my sisterhood wasn't there. And I would hate for that to be the reason, because we're all struggling. I mean, we're all still trying to like figure this out post pandemic. But it's possible. We have each other. We can't just have each other in the happy, you know, or in the professional. We have to have each other in the messy too. And that's something that the founders, you know, we've all been through the messy, you know, we've had divorces and, you know, kids that have issues and whatever, and we've been there for each other, you know. We don't always have the right answer,
Yeah.
but we're there for each other.
Yeah, I think that support model you just established, I think that's really important. And I feel even the sisters that do leave, right, that maybe go either inactive or just choose to I hate to say this, right? They drop their letters. That
Mhm.
always hurts, breaks my heart. Is like what happened, what didn't go right. And I wish we could get some of that feedback, honest feedback, so that we can learn from it, so we can grow from it, you know, and no one's perfect. I mean, that happens in corporate. You know, you leave a job and you just don't return and puts a bad taste in your mouth. And so for me, I know that's something when we talked about retention. But Claudia, a question I wanted to kind of follow up with is, can you share a moment when a sister was there for you in a lot, you know, just when you were struggling, or, you know, even though you were away for 10 years, can you give us an example? I think it's nice to kind of just share that story.
Sure. Hmm. There's been quite a few times. Um, yeah, I mean, let me think. That's not too personal. Well, that's.
Oh, yeah. No, so take your time. Take your time. One thing I'll mention while you're thinking is one thing that I've seen for sisters that show up for just when you mentioned about a sister can post in a group chat or Facebook group, right? And can say I'm in Texas. But I've also seen that there's a mother's page where if sisters that have kids where they struggle,
Mm-hmm.
there's a mental health issue or a mom with a bad divorce. And those posts make me cry because to me it's like that's what sisterhood's all about,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's that sister being vulnerable with the whole Facebook community of sisterhood to say, I'm struggling, my kid isn't doing this, or hey, my divorce isn't going like I planned, or now he wants custody, right? And then all these sisters that chime in with their experiences, their support, giving just love and hugs. It's like, to me, when I see that, I get very emotional because I'm like, you know what? Who else does that? Because I'm like, that to me is how we as a sisterhood, Gamma Alpha Omega sorority, show up
Yep.
in the most difficult moments of a sister's life. I remember when I left a relationship and I had sisters show up at my house and pack up my whole house and I moved out. Like the person came home and I was gone. And like it was just like sisters I didn't even know
Mm-hmm.
just helped me pack to leave. And that was like the most difficult thing I remember going through. And it was hard. And yeah, sisters that, and now those sisters are like part of my core sisters, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm ride or die with. So
Yep,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, my mom lived with us for quite a while. She had advanced dementia. It wasn't quite Alzheimer's, but she had advanced dementia. And when she was toward the end of life, I mean, I remember reaching out to some of the founders and letting them know what I had been going through because we sometimes like disappear, deal with what we need to deal with, and we deal with it in private or whatever we need to do. And then eventually we circle back and hey, I'm still here, and then we let each other know what's going on, and hey, mom's not doing great. She's toward the end of life. I just want to let you guys know I'm probably gonna need your support, that kind of thing. And all of them, of course, I'm there. And a couple of my sisters were there at the funeral, and they were there to support me and make sure that I was, you know, good. Because when you lose a parent or you lose a loved one, and you're the one helping plan the funeral and the reception and all that stuff, you make sure everybody else is taken care of, but you're not making sure that you're okay. You know what I mean? So, they made sure I had a plate to eat. They made sure I had water to drink. They made sure I was being taken care of while I was taking care of other people, or while my sister and I were taking care of other people that had come in from out of state, to give their last condolences for my mom and that kind of thing. So it was great to know that even in that moment, I had sisters who were looking out for me. They weren't looking out for my sister or for, my spouse or my kids. They were there for me. And that feels amazing that that there's somebody there they're your support in that moment. And that was one of many times, but that was definitely one of those moments where you're grateful for the fact that you have that extended family, because that's really what they are. They're just an extended family for
Yeah.
you.
I love that. I love you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm like I'm imagining, I'm like, it's just like, it's exactly things that are happening around you, but it's like you have your own little support system right there. He's like, we know you, we love you, and we want to make sure, because it very easily could have gone off the railroads. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
and it does happen for folks who are in transition in that way. But I'm just imagining all of you there and them just taking care of you and making sure that you're taken care of while trying to take care of others. And I don't know, that's just so beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. So just to wrap this up, y'all, I'm just curious, Clara, what would you like to say to sisters, actives, your fellow founders, whatever it may be? Of course, we're recording this on a podcast, and it will be documented for as long as it's documented. But at this point in time, in 2023, on tax day, what would you want to share with sisters in general, or some words of encouragement, or just yeah, words of encouragement of what it means to be a part of this amazing sisterhood.
For me, it's what I've always told the girls when I see a chapter cross a new line. I just remind them to remember who they are, what brought them here, and to never forget that, because you all worked really hard for those letters. Let me tell you that's hard work, because we watched it. um, but remember that, don't take the bad times and let that overshadow the whole purpose of why you did what you did and why you chose this organization, and carry that with you in your heart. Carry that with you in your, your moments of discouragement or your time of, I don't think I can do this anymore. Just remember, you went through this process and there was a reason you did, and it's going to continue to carry you into the next season. But never forget who you are and never forget why you did what you did.
I love that. Lost you, Candace. You good over there?
Yeah, I was just nodding my head because at regionals, that's what the question was is, in order to kind of refocus and revitalize and get people re-engaged, right? It's kind of it's not like you need to pull teeth. It's like if like what you just said, remember the why. When you remember the why, it's kind of like, okay, this was what I was supposed to do. This was why I did it. When you really reflect on it, you know why, and then you just like, okay, I feel good again. It always like for me when I know my why, it was just seeing the sisterhood really engage my daughters. They were
Mm-hmm.
like we had the Gamma Pals program at the Epsilon chapter where they mentored. They Gamma Pals stood for Gamma supporting athletics, and academics amongst Latino students and girls. And I just remember my girls, and it was all about service and giving back. And I believed in that wholeheartedly. And I'm like, well, I want to join the sisterhood, but at the time I wasn't in college. So it wasn't until I actually went back to school and then they were like, well, you can be a part of the sorority. It was just, I was like honored. I'm like, this is amazing. And I grew up an only child until I found my biological family. But again, to just know like I had sisters that had my back and that supported me through tough times, difficult times. And that's what it's about. And I love that. Just remember why you joined. And I think the rest will follow,
Mm-hmm.
from when you carry that in your heart. I think
Love
it's a
that.
great way to wrap up. But I know Kay Short's going to be getting ready to close us out here with some announcements.
Yeah, I do. I do. Well, Clara, before we go, where can sisters find you? And you were saying specifically the great thing about it is that you know who to go to when you need this kind of support. So if sisters were to just hypothetically hit you up, what would be what they would be if they were to ask you? Is it organizing or like words of encouragement or whatever it may be? And then where can they find you?
Well, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, pretty equally. So they can find me there, message me, DM me, whatever. And if they ever need an encouraging word or they need, like Amy said, kind of a softer touch
Mm,
to the reality that you need to hear, I can provide that for you.
I love that. I love that. This is very true. Awesome, Clara. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm about to jump into announcements. I don't know if you want to hang out with us a little bit longer, if you're ready to go home and eat some dinner. But we just want to say thank you so much for taking the time, for being with us, for just doing what you've done, and just for being such a great example and leading by example for us in this amazing organization. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clara.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah. All right, y'all. So, as we close out this show, we just want to say again that we have open positions. NEB is currently in transition. So, if you're wanting to get involved, if you're wanting to say, this is the decision I've made, we crossed, we're here. This isn't just an undergraduate thing. This is an alumni thing. This is a forever thing. Just know that once you got those letters on, we can serve in many ways, whether it's collegiate affairs, alumni affairs, director of philanthropy, standards, scholarship, whatever is pulling at your hearts. And just make sure that if you have any interest to respond back to our NEB memos that we were receiving in our emails from the Greek Capital Management Platform. And if you don't know what that is, exactly what Glada is saying, just jump into the Facebook and be like, hey, I want to get involved and I just need some support. Who can I talk to? And then I'm sure someone will definitely guide you in your way. And most importantly, we're going to be moving forward as we're celebrating our 30th year. Woo! Clara, how you feel about that, by the way? You okay? You good? How you feel about the 30th year this year that we're
I'm
celebrating?
excited about it. I'm still kind of like, what? 30 years? How did that happen? You know?
So can you give us a little insight? Are y'all doing, just out of curiosity, anything with Alpha Chapter doing a little thing special for our 30th year? Or are you just going to be surprised
I'm
too?
gonna be surprised too.
You don't know?
No,
Oh,
I haven't heard anything.
okay. Uh-oh.
We'll
That
all
seems
be
like a
surprised when we show up. We'll all be
Yeah.
surprised.
And I'm good with
there it
that,
is.
you
Okay.
know?
Yeah. I love that. I love that. All right, y'all. So if you want to see Clara, if you want to see Candace, if you want to see myself, we will be at Nationals in Tempe, Arizona from June 22nd to June 25th. And also, just a very snippet, Candace and I will have a little something for y'all. We can't say it too soon. You know what, y'all? It's June. I just realized it is right around the corner. So, with that said, make sure to join us at Arizona State University. If you have not gotten the registration prices, make sure to get in there sooner than later for early registration. And yeah, if you have any questions, make sure to go to our Gamma Instagram. We have now a link tree. So if you want all of the forms on there, then this is your last minute chance to register and so that we can see each other at Nationals. All right, y'all. So again, if you want to follow Candace on social media, you can find her at
www.candacesanchez.com. Go to my website, click on my social links, and you can connect with me on Facebook, IG, and Twitter or LinkedIn. Any of the above works.
and Claro. We can find you where?
Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Just under my name.
Can you give us a
Just my
name?
name.
Okay, I want to make sure. I was
Yep.
like, it's not like too pretty, too short.com. I don't
Yeah.
know what people do.
You know, all of the above.
That's why I just to make sure. All the above. And y'all can follow me at what am I? Coach K Short on Instagram. And I feel like there's one more thing I had to say. But regardless, make sure to tune in for the next episode. This second half of the year, y'all, we are actually opening it up to the organization. We're going to be using a new feature here on Riverside where we're going to have audience available so folks can just tune in and watch us live and do this live. And then we're going to be doing some call-in conversations too. So if that's something you want to be a part of, make sure to stay tuned for the second half of the year as Candace revs up to start talking to other sisters who are in the active house, maybe some sisters who've dropped letters. Look, if you out there and you listening and you found us and you was like, I need to get on there and tell them what happened, we would love the feedback and we can talk about that and have that hard conversation. But overall, second half of the year is going to be amazing. So thank you so much for listening, and we will see you all on the next month of the 25th. All right, y'all. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.